everyone. Welcome back to Mustang Amanda. Today, I have a really special interview to share with you with two builders from the UK who made an amazing SEMA build. This is Bruno, a 1965 Fiat 500 that has a Ducati 996 engine inside of it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A motorcycle engine inside of a car? Wait till you see this thing. It is impressive. In fact, something even more impressive behind the car are the people that built it. Dan and Claire from Dip Monkey Garage. They had a very short timeline since they had to ship it from the UK. I hope you enjoy their story and enjoy this interview. Hey everyone, I'm here with Dan and Claire from Dip Monkey Garage, and we're going to talk about their impressive build, Bruno. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So this is Project Bruno. Project Bruno is a 1965 Fiat 500, or should I say he was. That's what he was when we started. And then through talking with our friend Ciro, we were like, what can we do? We want to bring this car to SEMA. And Ciro's Italian, and then we come up with the idea, why don't we put an Italian bike in the back of an Italian car? And so that was the idea, and we went, yeah, let's go with it. And then we had the problem of making it happen.
Yeah.
So we will talk you through.
So Bruno, basically, with him being this 1965 Fiat 500, we decided to put a Ducati 996 engine in the back of him, didn't we? Oh, I do apologise, that's the air. Bruno, stop it. So we put the Ducati 996 engine in the back of it to give him that running gear. But we'll take you through. Should we start at the top and work our way to the back?
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay. So first off, obviously visually, you can see this complete colour difference to the exterior of the rest of the car. So that is the original Ducati fuel tank there, okay? And we thought, obviously, space with Bruno was so hard, we had to utilise everything, and we wanted to try and keep as much of the Ducati, the sort of bike itself in the car. So the reason why I went with this particular colour scheme was because Ducati has a world famous bike rider, which is Carl Fogarty from the UK. This is his livery here, so if I show you for example, that's his livery there. So I kind of wanted to have that real nod to Ducati. Carl Fogarty himself has signed Bruno as well, so he's got the seal of approval from the world champion.
Love that.
And what I did is I went in and I airbrushed all of the same sort of effect into these areas here, into the fuel tank and into the compressor tank as well. What I did with it, I noticed when I was looking at the helmet with the shadow work, it had like this hexagon design. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of gives it the shadow work and the play on all the different colours, the greys, the pale blues, the whites and everything. But that hexagon, I thought, do you know what? I like that. That's trick. It's a nice shape to work with. So I thought, how can I pull that into the rest of the car, that design? So what I did was obviously replicated this, and then I thought, do you know what? We can pull that same Ducati theme to the exterior, because we knew we were going to go really crazy with the paintwork on the exterior. So I kind of flew that through and we did it into this detail here.
Love that.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Dan to talk you through the exterior paint, because this is his beautiful artwork on this build.
Awesome. Dan, what can you tell us about how many coats this took, what color, all of that?
So basically, we were bringing, like we said, the smallest car to the biggest show. So I really thought this paint job had to be something special. We wanted something that's going to kick off and react under the lights. And me and Claire, we're a sucker for an old school paint job. So we thought it's got to be metal flake, it's got to be candy. Claire's favourite colour's teal. So was it going to be any other colour than a teal candy? No. So we went for the old school. So we've gone for an old school metal flake with the candy over the top. And they were rocking that in the 70s, you know. The cars are 65. In the 70s, they would have been modifying and people were doing this sort of colour. Yeah. So we're almost period correct with it, and it's give us what we wanted it to do in SEMA as well. And to do this, so it's a full metal flake, silver metal flake. We have to paint the car black first. Most people go, what? Yeah, so the car had to be painted black, jet black all over.
And how many coats of the black paint did you do with that?
So I reckon for 4 or 5 coats at least. Okay. I mean, we get like full coverage in the second and third, and then we just really build it up, really black it out.
Yeah, really.
And then it comes to doing like the metal flake, and that's the tricky bit. So imagine you're spraying that metal flake, and that's lots of little metal particles flying out, and you've got to get them to land on that body evenly, everywhere in that gap, under here, in there, down there. Tricky. We're in for about 7 or 8 coats of the metal flake to get it all nice and even all the way over. Don't tell anyone these are my secrets, you know.
And how many coats of the teal did you go in for?
So for the teal candy, we did 3 coats.
We did.
But the teals, the candies are a real pain. You can easily go 1 pass too much and you ruined it. That means what? Start again.
Yeah.
But this isn't the sort of paint job you can just do in a couple of hours. It took days to do this, really, because you've got to build it up through the layers, through the processes, and let it all go off. So we really went the extra mile trying to make this look pretty for you.
And it looks absolutely stunning. They actually took the color into the seats as well. If you guys...
And we kept his original.
Oh, really?
Door handles
I love that.
as well, his original one.
So it's a
There you go.
1965 Fiat 500.
See the seats.
Centre console in the original 1965, okay, but it wasn't as wide as this, it wasn't as deep, it wasn't as long. So what we did was, Dave, our fabricating guy, who did everything amazingly, he actually modified that as much as to maximise the space to hide all the wiring, the fuel lines as well. That was another thing that we had to hide, because obviously we've got a lot going on here. There's a lot of a lighting system as well. We're actually using XK Glow, and these guys are in SEMA as well at the moment, so we had to hide all of that. Again, followed through with the hexagon design, kept the outside to bring it on the inside. We also went with a pearlerized white on the inside as well to really give it that crisp look, make that teal, that shimmer really pop. Stenciled in our logo as well on the headrest bits as well. And inside, I don't know if you can see, not many people notice it, but Bruno being tiny, he's got a tiny fire extinguisher, so if he has to have a fire, it's got to be a tiny fire.
Better be a small one.
And I've actually painted that exactly the
did?
same, so you kind of have to scoot in and get right in between them seats, so have a little look.
Oh, cute.
There you go. Really, really cute.
What's your favorite thing about this car? That would you say?
Do you know, it's really hard, Dan, isn't it? Because there's so many trick bits on him, there's so many little hidden gems, there's so much engineering skill, and I'm not just saying that, my team have been incredible, haven't they? They've absolutely, the guys that we have on board, from Dave, who does the fabrication, Andy, who does a lot of the lighting, Harry, who we call Harry the Wizard, because he is a wizard with electrics. That's why we end up with the lighting sequence and all this crazy stuff.
Happens to be like Harry Potter too,
Exactly,
right?
he does.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And, Tony with his engineering brain, there's so much that I struggle to point one out that is the favourite, and I think Bruno's just our favourite. He's so cute, he's so happy.
It's quite funny because we're at this stage now, we're in SEMA, we're on the other side of the world with our little car, and trying to pick our favourite bits. Funny enough, because we've got the video playing in the background of the car, and we're at this point where we've been so much stress getting the car done, and we're seeing bits on the video, and we're like, oh, do you remember doing that? We don't,
It's a blur.
Yeah, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this.
Well, we said blood, sweat, and Tetleys because Claire drinks a lot of tea.
We don't drink. We only drink tea. Well, I drink a hell of a lot of tea, don't I? You'll actually see, if you ever check out our YouTube channel or our socials, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm airbrushing, line work, whatever it is, I've always got a cup of tea in my hand. Always.
Amanda, I don't know if you noticed, but the plaque in front of the car on the garage style flooring actually says blood, sweat, and Tetleys on it.
Does it really? Oh, I'll have to check that out.
A small picture of me holding a cup of tea as well.
Oh my
Honestly,
goodness.
Zoom in on that. And the other thing, there you go, Andy's done it. You've just heard it. We might have modified everything on this car, but the one thing we never lost and we wanted to keep, which could be a favourite, is the iconic 1965 Slam. There you go. We never got rid of that.
I love that. Now, how does it feel having all of these people come by and checking it out and being so amazed?
So for us, we're a really small business in the UK.
Yeah.
We've got a really small shop. And this car was built in the same spot. It went up on the jack stands early days, and it stayed there until it was finished. And we've got a small group of people that did it. And we lived and breathed this car night and day for months on end. And to see it here in the US at the SEMA show is mind-boggling. I think we're still in a state of shock, really. We're super proud. We've met amazing people like yourself, and
thank you.
And in a way, it's just mind-blowing, I think, isn't it?
I think as well that we found with us being such a small company in the UK, and predominantly apart from our amazing team that jumped on board, friends of ours, all skilled in what they do, and they said to us, you're going to need some help, we better come on board. We're blessed to have them. Dip Monkey Garage is just me and Dan, predominantly, apart from Bruno. It is just me and Dan. To have this opportunity, what Chiro gave us from Petrol Hedonism, to have this opportunity that's next level for us. That sort of stuff doesn't happen often. You know,
what dreams are made of.
it is what dreams are made of, and it was a massive, but it was also equally, it was a double-edged sword. It was a massive gamble as well, you know, because the time that we had to invest in Bruno, that meant that there was a lot of customer jobs that we would normally be doing that wouldn't be getting done.
Yeah.
So there was a few scary times financially that we were like, ugh, you know, are we going to pull through this? But I mean,
Kept saying it'll be worth it.
you kept saying that, you know.
And you know what, I was right, it was.
And you were so right. And there was a few times where, I'm not going to lie, I panicked. I did panic because, you know, it's our livelihood, it's our career, it's everything that's on the line. And I think the other thing that was quite scary was bringing such a small car to such a huge show with predominantly big American muscle cars. That was quite frightening in itself, but the feedback that we've had has just been phenomenal.
Amazing.
It's been phenomenal. It's really, a couple of times we've stood back and gone, really? You mean that?
And what's cool is that it is a small car,
Yeah.
but it's had such an impact on so many people coming by.
Yeah.
On us, we've really enjoyed seeing it and talking with you guys and everything.
Well,
so
thank you for coming over. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming and taking a look around Project Bruno, because it means the world to us.
Definitely.
absolutely.
I think we need to show you the back end of it.
I think we
All
should
the
go check
party
it
in
out.
the
Yeah,
back.
let's go check that out.
Dan, you want to talk us through this one?
So this is our Ducati 996 that we put in the back of our Fiat 500. We've gone for like a trike rear end. Predominantly people have seen the small cars done with like Hayabusa swaps and things like that, and there's like quite gearboxes and stuff you can buy for them. We wanted a bit more raw, rugged, exposed look, so to get that it was this trike rear axle. It's got independent rear suspension. We knew we could mount the roll cage to it and it would give us our rear axles, and it was great. So that's the way we went down. Getting that Ducati 996 in where it is now, that wasn't as easy as it looks.
Yeah, it looks tough. Everything is
Yeah.
so perfectly fit
So
inside.
everything is now, but to get it to that point, because even we were trying to get to a point where we had to get this engine in a safe place so we could run a safe distance for the chain so they could be taut and everything work, because there's two chains. You have a chain that goes to the transfer box, and from that transfer box there's a secondary chain that goes to the rear differential, so it's a two-chain setup. But to make that happen, the distance we needed, it was to put it where we wanted it, well, it wasn't safe, it was like too close. You'd almost be like gears on gears, you know, so the chain wouldn't work.
Right.
And I thought, well, we'll put the engine forwards. You put the engine forwards, the front cylinder head was like, that was encroaching into where the seats were going to be. And with a small cab like that, you can't put the seats forward. Okay, so if you can't go forwards, can't go back, we'll go up.
Oh.
But if you put the engine up, your centre of gravity, imagine cornering, the weight, the car would want to fall over.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's not an option either. So we got pretty stuck. It was tough, and this was the point. I mean, this is one of the hardest parts of the build, because we thought this engine may not physically be compatible with this small car, but it must be. There must be a way. So back to this trike rear end that we've got. That transfer box that I was just telling you about, that's got a lever on it, and that initiates the drive from one direction to the other. So technically, on paper, we have got 6 gears forward, and we've got 6 gears back. How cool is that? Imagine 150 miles an hour in reverse. Wow, let's do it. We're not that crazy, we haven't tried it. But anyway, so that gave us an option. When we were all a bit stumped, we didn't know how to get the engine started, I looked at the guys, I said, tell you what, let's put the engine in backwards. And they thought, oh yeah, that's quite funny. I said, no, listen to me, put the engine in backwards. Yeah. And they went, how's that going to work? I said, due to that transfer box, we're going to initiate the drive, not necessarily forward or reverse, it's from this way or this way. So that's what we did. So we turned it around, we got the lower centre of gravity. That cylinder head you can now see is just poking out the back here, and because it's a V engine, the other cylinder head is just lifting up the back, and it tucks in behind the roll cage and does not affect the seats.
Wow.
So that's how, don't tell him, that's a secret. Build secrets 101 right here. But that is how we got a Ducati 996 running and driving in the back of Project Bruno.
From start to finish, how many hours would you say?
694,346,000.
Yeah.
And that's not including lunch breaks.
We lost track, and to be honest, I don't want to look neither, because there was that many man hours that went into it. But I can safely say we averagely, between us all, and me and you especially when we were doing the paint, we were doing 40-hour shifts, going home for a couple of hours sleep, 40 hours again, you know. But it had to be done like that, and it's a surreal thing that when you're really up against it and you've got such a tight deadline, and obviously for something so, you know, amazing as this, what your body is willing to do and how your mind's willing to go. And sometimes we were kind of on autopilot, weren't we? And it's hard to remember back because it is a blur. But I tell you, so many hours put in. I can't even. I don't want to look.
Do you know what I found interesting? So obviously coming from the UK, we've watched Discovery Channel, we've watched car programs for years on end, and you always see guys doing that SEMA Build, and it's always the stress and the time frame, the SEMA crunch, the time frame, the deadline, and you know, so many people say, do you know what? That's all. It's dramatized. It's theatre. It's for TV. It's not really like that. How bad can it be? Now we have been through it, and we have lived it. I know what they put on TV doesn't show you anything. It's 10 times worse. We went through it. We did the late nights day after day, and wow.
Yeah, and let's touch on that real quick with the timeline, because if you had to ship it from the UK, when did you guys actually have to be done?
So we actually had to be done by August, didn't we?
Well, that's not really fair as well, because when you think about it, a lot of the guys, the US builders, they can be fixing the car up to days before, and then they'll be trailing her in, driving them in. We kind of had the car finished by the end of August, first week of September, to get it ready to be shipped, because this car had a long old journey to do. So we had a lot less time as well, you know. I'm going from the early days, so it's getting the sponsors together and figuring out how we're going to build the car and what parts we need.
That was the other thing with it, was the logistics of that, because obviously we had some amazing, you'll have to pan onto the door there as well, but we had some amazing sponsors that, you know, joined us, but logistically trying to make sure that all correlated with each other and fitted into the plan was really, really difficult, because obviously there was things like wheels. The wheels, for example, they're bespokely made by 6AD Forge. You know, it's a one-off design. There was a build process in that in itself. There was a shipping process, so that didn't line up with the EBC brake system, you know? Everything was out of alignment, so there was this constant chasing your tail all the time, and we were fitting, and for example as well, which I think any car builder out there, anybody who modifies their own car as well, if anyone's ever fitted a body kit to a car, you do it, you have the wheels first, and then you go from there. Nobody in their right mind fits a body kit without having the wheels there. We did it that way round.
We
had
did not
to.
have the luxury of time.
We didn't. So we literally, everything we did was the opposite way round to how you would do it. So it was really, really difficult. So you just spent all that time chasing yourself all the time. But it did collapse in together, and it did at the end come together. But that was a stress upon itself, you know?
Well, what's so interesting is there's so many different companies that have helped you out with this build.
They've been amazing.
It took you guys and your passion and your dedication to really bring it here to SEMA today. And it is so awesome. I love Bruno. I'm a huge fan of him, and a fan of you guys now too.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm so appreciative of you guys' time. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything else you want to say? Or
I just want to say thanks to you for coming over and having a look.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the time and effort we put into this car, for someone like you to come over and say, hey, the car looks great.
And give us time as well.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you,
rest
Dan.
of the show.
Hope you guys got to see how truly authentic and genuine Dan and Claire really are. Bruno captivated the hearts from so many from SEMA. In fact, this was one of my favorite interviews, and honestly, one of my favorite cars from SEMA. Now, one of the cool things about SEMA is how you're able to just go up and talk to the builders behind the cars. It's such a cool opportunity, and meeting Dan and Claire definitely was a highlight from this trip. That's a wrap for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.